All right, welcome back to Wrestling Retold and Relive with Richie Mars. I, of course, am your humble, gracious host, Richie Mars, and thank you for clicking on this newest episode available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Again, you could always follow the podcast by hitting that good old follow button on there, where you could get new episodes every Tuesday, usually at 5:30 in the morning, to get your morning start off right on Tuesday. And of course, you could also follow me on the Instagram and the TikTok at Retold Richie Mars. New content every day. Instagram is going to be more for the podcast and some fun memes that I sometimes concoct on my off times if I think of a funny idea. But on TikTok, I post about 3 to 4 videos a day. We are already at over 5,200 followers on there. So thank you all if you follow on TikTok as well. But there's a big celebration that I'm going through. Not just the TikTok milestone, the Instagram milestone, the podcast milestone. It's my own fandom milestone because on September 18th of this year, it's been 21 years consecutively that I've been a wrestling fan, never fell out of it, watched all the episodes, majority of it, of SmackDown, and I figure the best way to celebrate is to watch a SmackDown where it was my first full wrestling match that I remember. I've seen bits and pieces. I remember there was an August edition of SmackDown where my first image was Chris Benoit holding The Rock in a crossface, and then Hulk Hogan went and bashed Brock Lesnar with a steel chair. But this was my first ever match that I saw, September 18th, 2003, and it was Kurt Angle defending his WWE Championship against Brock Lesnar in an Iron Man match on SmackDown. Now, as a young fan, I thought this was the norm. This was like a catch as catch can Kyle style wrestling little bit where Brock and Kurt were the standards of what wrestling was at this time period and just wrestling overall. When I think of wrestling, I think of these two athletes, people who looked like athletes, wrestled like athletes, and it was a masterpiece of a match. Now, I haven't watched it in a long while, so I'm experiencing this for the first time in a long time. It's been probably at least 5 to 10 years since I haven't seen this match back. So I'm on Peacock right now, and I stopped at a certain point where the match is about to begin, and I'm just gonna watch it, tell my stories, tell my fandom about wrestling as this match is going on. So without further ado, my Peacock feed is at 40 minutes, 30 seconds of the September 18th edition of SmackDown in 2003. Should be Season 5, Episode 38. So, without further ado, let me please hit the start button, and away we go. All right, so my feed is started, and Brock Lesnar is delaying getting into the ring right now. The clock hasn't officially started yet. Now, this was during the era where Brock Lesnar was a heel. Everyone was saying you tapped out, and that was the version of the "you suck" chant for Brock Lesnar to throw him off his game. Now, the backstory behind this match is even crazier because apparently before this match, Brock Lesnar suffered like a torn or pulled hamstring, and that, as the clock starts right here, suffered both those things, one or both those things during the time, and it probably hampered his ability, but still put out a quality match. And with Kurt Angle, it's even crazier because the night before is when his sister passed of a heroin overdose. Unfortunately, Kurt's sister was an addict for drugs, and he's going into this Iron Man match with just a performance of a lifetime while also dealing with this traumatic situation. So both these guys, physically and emotionally, for lack of a better term, are not at 100%, and they're still trying to perform a quality match, a match that hasn't been done in WWE at this point in time for about 3 years, a little over 3 years. I think the last Iron Man match before this one was the Triple H Rock match at Judgment Day 2000. If I have my memory correct, someone could correct me, and I'll believe you. But Brock Lesnar taking control with the power game. And oof, knee right to the midsection of Kurt Angle. And these matches between Brock and Kurt are some of my favorites to watch back on. Like, I think I even rated, or not rated, I liked their WrestleMania 19 match a little bit better than Jericho and Michaels just because of the backstory of, like, all the traumatic things that happened that I felt like added to the match. Not just the shooting star on top of the head, but just, like, the whole thing with Kurt, like, not wanting to give up the main event because of his neighbor with Down syndrome who had the cover of Brock and him on the WrestleMania TV guide, and he called Vince saying, I want to do the match, and he did the match. And also just like the legitimacy of these two, where it's like you have guys who could play tremendous characters while also being legitimate athletes as well. I think that was a good draw in this time frame where it's like you want to go quote unquote more realistic, because this was the period of time in the Ruthless Aggression era where a lot of people were using their real names, like Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, John Cena, Randy Orton. This was the point in time where, okay, now we're getting away from the Attitude Era, now we're going for a more legitimate feel. And as we see, Brock Lesnar trying to call a timeout right here. And oh, jeez, here we go. Brock Lesnar being overdramatic, just a coward heel, and just feigning Angle in, stomping a mud hole. And this is why I think a lot of people kind of sour on Brock Lesnar's second run, because right here he's doing more traditional wrestling style matches where it's back and forth, where it's more Brock doing not only power stuff but also exuberating his wrestling skill as well. And as we see Kurt Angle taking advantage, throwing Brock onto the outside. Again, it's the veteran move. And having an Iron Man match on television is a risky play because you have to keep the audience invested for that hour, not only in the wrestling aspect of it, as Brock rips out the steel steps trying to show his frustration, but in a character aspect as well, because with wrestling, it's not just about the moves that will attract viewers. It's the personalities and the emotional connection you have to these wrestlers and characters overall, and the story that's happening. And the story that's happening right now was after WrestleMania 19, Brock was champion, Kurt came back, and they had this kind of little bromance relationship where they were trying to like friendly one-up each other. Kurt then beat Brock at Vengeance to win the WWE Championship, which also featured the Big Show, which apparently they wanted the Iron Man match to be at Vengeance, but they got denied, and then it got pushed back to here. Now Brock turned on Kurt, was aligned with Vince McMahon storyline, and then they had the SummerSlam match with Kurt winning. So this is technically the rubber match between both of them. And the Iron Man stipulation is the perfect stipulation for these two in this rivalry, just because it's a kind of a callback to the Greco-Roman amateur wrestling these guys used to do. Whether it's the time limit, whether it's the amount of falls you get, and just like that could be constituted as rounds. And right now the clock's ticking up. It's 55 and 6 seconds, so 55 minutes 4 seconds right now. And this is what you have to do with the time right now, because I feel like nowadays, especially if you watch that Dolph Ziggler Seth Rollins Iron Man match, a lot of fans would get disinterested very quickly. And I think a lot of it has to do with fans nowadays, I think, are more, at least in the WWE side, are more attracted to, as Brock powers out of the ring, holding his leg, yelling at the ref, to more of the character stuff, the fast-paced stuff. And I feel like a lot of fans don't really get drawn in with the technical wrestling stuff. And technical wrestling is great, but you have to have that crowd work, which is what Brock is doing right now by consistently powdering out of the ring, having interactions with the fans, having these emotional outbursts, and getting and garnering heat from the fans as Brock suckers Kurt in with the drop down. And now Brock on the attack. And I have to say, I do like Kurt's singlet right here. It's half white, half red, and then on the other side and the back you have the blue with the stars, and then you have the red there. So I really liked it. It's not my favorite Kurt singlet. That happens in TNA when he has like the hot rod like flames on the side of his singlet. I feel like he had that with his match with Sting in Bout for Glory 2007, where he hit like a 450 knee drop, which was insane. As Kurt hits a belly to belly right there, and clotheslines Brock right out of the ring. And you're using 60 minutes as your timepiece. If you're in a show, any kind of show, whether it's a music show, a concert, a theater performance, improv show, you get your time cues. All right, you got 7 minutes, go out there, use it however you want. And with this, you have a full hour. You have 1 hour to work with. And I feel like with this especially, you have to be aware that the audience has to at least understand not only if they're watching from the beginning, but if they're tuning in and out to see how this match is going on, how the story of this match is going on. And right now, in the beginning portion, it's about Brock being a crybaby, for lack of a better term, and Kurt being the wily veteran using the ring around him. And it's interesting because both these guys were baby faces and heels, respectively, during this entire feud. And Kurt does work better as a babyface, in my opinion, just because, as Brock rams Kurt to the side of the ring, just because, again, it's easier for a babyface to be the smaller one. And Brock just lifts Kurt up right into the spinebuster position. Oof. Just the right to the ring post, that spinebuster. And you see there Brock just like limping on his leg, and that's important because Kurt Angle's move is the ankle lock. So they established early that that is Brock Lesnar's weakness right there. Oh, I think this is where we get the first fall as Brock's going all the way down, chases Tony Chimel out there, and gets the steel chair. Now, again, with this Iron Man match kind of rules, it's going to be pinfall or submission, disqualification or countout is how you lose. And, oof, chair shot to the head. Kurt, and chair shots again and again. Just wailing on Kurt with the chairs. And Brock loses a fall there, and commentary right here is going to question why Brock Lesnar did that. We're 51 minutes, 15 seconds. Angle's up 1 fall to none with Brock. And again, this is smart within the story that you're trying to establish. 1, Brock is a heel. 2, if you damage the babyface early in this type of scenario with all those chair shots, you're going to get an advantage, and we're going to see that throughout this match. And Brock Lesnar calls for water. Aquafina, good choice. Oh, he's just chugged that water. And now Brock is freshened up. He's ready to go. Has a significant advantage. And Brock taking his time, coming into the ring, working out his leg, making sure he's walking all right. Just paintbrushing Kurt. And with Brock during this time, he works well in the bully role. I know they wanted to put him as a babyface, but with a lack of heels on the SmackDown side, there's really nothing they could have done with Brock. I think, especially during this era, you needed more heels for Brock to work with in order to work. And with Kurt Angle coming back as a babyface, that just wasn't going to happen. And Angle trying to crawl up Brock, and then Brock stalling up. We were getting that F5 position. And here we go. F5. Boom. And Brock is fired up. Got the F5. First 10 minutes into the match. And we got the cover. The 1, the 2, 3. And Brock just tied up the scoreboard. So now we are 1 apiece. So again, the chair shots do play a factor in this match, and that's what I like when they utilize outside sources, whether it's foreign objects, whether it's distractions, or anything like that, as Brock's stretching right now. And that tells the story for the rest of the match. Now you are given a reason why Kurt Angle is disoriented, and you give a reason why you hate Brock Lesnar, because he broke the rules without exactly breaking the rules. Like, he was still punished for breaking the rules, but now this sets the tone for the rest of the match, and why Brock Lesnar is always going to be one up on Kurt Angle, because of that dastardly move right there. And it's really rare to have a type of match like this on a SmackDown or any kind of television show with commercial breaks, because it's always risky, because you want people to always watch the entirety of a match if they're interested in it. And with commercial breaks, sometimes the flow of the match might not work as well. But in my opinion, with this match, I do think they pulled it off, especially being so young in Brock Lesnar's career and Kurt Angle's career relatively short, because I think at this time, 2003, Kurt's been on the WWE roster for almost 4 years at this point. Brock, not even 2 years. So a combined experience of like only 6 years of main roster time between the two, as Brock's making the tap out motion because they're feeding off the you tapped out stuff, and now Brock puts Kurt in the ankle lock, and Angle has to tap out, and you don't really see that where it's people getting beat by their own moves. And now we're at 47-46, and Brock is up 2-1 as Angle's writhing in pain. And again, he could just run out the clock at this point. And again, the you tapped out chance got to Brock's head, so he decided to play off it. And now we're 44 minutes in, and then, knee lift by Brock. We just went through a commercial break, so not too much time has happened with Kurt trying to get back. Brock hit an Angle slam during the break as well. And Brock with the cover, the 1, the 2, and the kick out. So again, we're establishing now the second portion of this match, which is Kurt Angle trying to come back from behind the champion, and he's trying to at least build some momentum as Brock does a big shoulder tackle into the corner. And with this whole entire matchup, it's impressive just like cardio-wise how much these guys not only have to do move-wise, just the pacing in general. Because like I said before with the Dolph Ziggler-Seth Rollins situation, there are some people who don't like the slow pacing of a match. There are people who find the selling, the grapple work uninteresting. And you'll get chants from the crowd of boring, of they'll look at the countdown clock and they'll do like the rumble timer, which is what I think ruined Iron Man matches for WWE from there on out. And that's why they don't do them anymore, because the attention span of the modern generation just can't handle it. And with WWE's audience, I don't think you could pull off an Iron Man match unless there were some parameters involved. Which is why I think they're better for 2 out of 3 falls matches where you don't see the timer. And Brock speared the ring post, and Kurt now trying to fire back. I remember watching and just like completely on Kurt's side, just because, I always like the red, white, and blue color scheme, not just for America, but because Thomas the Tank Engine was my favorite growing up, and his color scheme was red, white, and blue. So it's not because I'm a patriot. It's just I really like trains. That was good. The whole Kurt does the triple German. And I like the realism of Brock trying to escape it. Like, these don't look like clean German suplexes. It's Brock trying to grab onto anything, trying to shift his weight forward, and then Kurt trying to lift Brock up, which is a feat in itself. So I really do appreciate the realism within a, because wrestling is a predetermined realm. It's a suspension of disbelief realm. And you can only be, quote unquote, so realistic, because realistically, if I'm going to bounce somebody off the ropes, would they really bounce back? With this, Brock threw Kurt over the top rope or through the rope. And with Kurt Angle and Brock in general, they just feel like so real, like real fighters, because they are. Kurt, former U.S. Olympic gold medalist, which, fun fact, they can't say Olympics on WWE technically, because the committee owns the trademark and term Olympics, but they could call Kurt Olympic gold medalist because that he legitimately did that. So they can't do anything about Kurt being an Olympic gold medalist. So they're allowed to say that, but you can't say Olympics. So that's why sometimes with the Olympic slam, they change it to the angle slam just to avoid stuff like that. And we got the F5 on the outside. And what I like about this Iron Man match, as we're still going through it, is that each fall feels different. Like there's a different strategy used for each fall that's been going on. Like you had Brock use the chair DQ, which got Angle to fall, but that weakened Angle, so Brock got the F5, got a fall that way. Then used Kurt's own ankle lock with the tap out, and Brock just got his third fall by count up by hitting the F5 on Kurt Angle as we just passed the 40 more minute mark that we're going to have left remaining of this match. Oof, that F5 was brutal. But and good stuff by Brock because he won a victory by just pinfall, then submission, then a count out. And now we're back. The clock is ticking. There's only about 36 minutes left, and Kurt trying to gain some momentum. And then Kurt gained momentum during the commercial break with the belly to belly. And I do like how they insert the during the break. So when it comes up, Kurt's already on his feet. Then you cut to this is what happened during the break, and that's how Kurt's gaining the advantage. As I say that, Brock just shoulder tackles Kurt out of the ring. And again, Kurt's on the back foot for most, if not all, of this match. And that's what makes this match interesting because usually it's the contender who's on the back foot, but now it's Kurt the champion who's on the back foot. And I believe during this time, Kurt also was dealing with an injury. I think I'm not sure if it was a groin, I think it was some leg injury because I know shortly after this, I think after the Survivor Series, he takes a extended break. Again, Brock trying to do anything to get some falls out of Angle. Ooh, nice elbow drop right there by Brock. And it's so weird seeing Brock in this setting where he's actually using moves in order to weaken down his opponent. But his opponent's no normal person. His opponent is Kurt Angle. And Kurt Angle, very generous with the 2.9 kickouts. He's been criticized for that in the past where sometimes it's like 2.9. Other times it feels like more like 3.1. But the whole thing of Brock Lesnar coming in right here is just him being a beast. An Irish whip right there, and then we're going, ooh, kick to the gut, and Angle slam, yes, there we go. And we'll see if Kurt can gain a fall here, and 1, 2, 3, now we're 3-2, so Angle is coming back with 34 minutes left. And I feel like they did this on SmackDown because prior to SmackDown going live, SmackDown was taped on Tuesdays. So it's easier to control and manipulate the time if need be, if anything were to go wrong. But I do enjoy the little back and forth game they're having right now. And Angle, nice shot to the face. And they're telling a good story of how those chair shots for nearly the first half of the match pretty much put Angle in a daze. And now it's pretty much the reason why he's behind right now. And it gives Angle an out for losing this championship match, if that were the case. And with Kurt, even if the opponent's much bigger, like he can stand toe-to-toe, because Kurt Angle is, I believe, probably like 5'11", 6 foot, maybe. And just because of his credentials and stature, he can go with the best of them. And I really do think Kurt Angle was probably the best pure wrestler there's ever been inside a wrestling ring. Just because, one, he didn't need to train so much for it, and he got as good as he did so quickly that he was a main event star within a year and a main fixture within just a couple of years. It's crazy to think that his WWE career has so many classic and great moments, and he wrestled majority of his career in TNA and had great matches on with there. And now we go back to the German suplexes. And that's another thing, that these guys are so similar, but so different in execution. With Kurt, it's more about technical and submission. With Brock, it's all about power. And Kurt going for another Olympic slam. And then, F5 coming. And counter. And the pick to the ankle lock. Great stuff. And this is where this next portion or this next half of the match comes down. Now it's more about the back and forth aspect, but Kurt is still, again, on the back foot, which I do like. And Kurt almost knocks the referee. Oh, and clotheslines Brian Hebner right out of his boots, pretty much. And now we're going to get the angle slam. Not the prettiest, but again, we got the visual pin to tie things up, but the referee's knocked down. So this match should already be tied up, but again, the ref is knocked down, so it doesn't count. Which is another wrinkle into this match, which gives Kurt Angle a credible out if he were to lose this match. And it gives Brock even more heat for indirectly, and there we go, the low blow by Brock. And again, we're seeing more illegal tactics, as Booker T would say, with Brock Lesnar taking the easy way, even though he's a beast of a human being. First, you got the chair shot, then you had taking out the referee, which was incidental, but again, he used it to his advantage, getting the low blow, telling Tony Chimel to get out again, and right now, we're gonna get, just threw the timekeeper like right on the ground. That should not be good. And now Brock picks up the championship. And we just about hit the halfway point for this match as we got the belt shot. Again, Brock being displayed as a cheater right now, even though he probably doesn't need to. And I would like to say this is probably Brock Lesnar's last, I feel like truly almost great wrestling match where he is just doing a WWE style match and not a Brock Lesnar style match when he would come back in 2012. And the ref counts and the 3, and Brock is now up 4-2. So now you have less than half of this match left, and Angle not only has to get 2 more falls, he has to get 1 more as well if he wants to beat Brock. So it's a great story that they're telling, because it's not that Kurt's down a fall, he's down 2 falls, and he needs 1 more to theoretically pin this beast. As we come back from commercial, we're at 25 minutes, and Kurt pulling Brock out of the ring and then getting that second win. And that's how they always do these commercials during this whole entire match, is that it ends with Angle on the back foot, and then coming back from commercial, you have Kurt now again in this matchup, making it competitive again, showing a hook as to how this match is going back and forth. It's not just Brock just dominating like usual matches. Now you're getting different scenarios where you have Kurt not only being competitive with Brock, but once the commercial hits, all right, now the action's picking up again. It's not just Brock taking control, and we got Kurt with a diving double axe handle on the outside, and you're seeing moves that these guys don't normally do throughout these matches. And we got Kurt trying to bring Brock in the ring, because that's the only way you could win, in the ring, at least for a pinfall, because on the outside you had Brock win by countout, and that's what I like about this match. They utilized legitimately every single way to gain a fall in this match to make every fall feel different and feel earned. And now Kurt again, top rope, he's unfamiliar, and that was a nice missile drop kick. Like, that was a clean missile drop kick. And Brock kicked out. And Angle showing frustration. Again, this match has been incredible so far, in terms of just storytelling, in terms of variety. Because, again, like I said before, it's really hard to keep people's attention, at least nowadays, if you're not invested in these characters. And these two are more wrestling based. So a lot of people, I think, had the, moonsault missed. But these two are more pure athlete based. It's almost hard to tailor that to a sports entertainment audience if you're not 100% in their characters. Luckily, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle back then and present day are so entertaining that the crowd are drawn to any move that they do. Like that moonsault. That's been a staple of Kurt Angle's career of always missing the moonsault. It's almost like don't powerbomb Billy Kidman, he will hit you with a facebuster. It's just one of the facts of wrestling rules in life. Kurt Angle tries for a moonsault, most likely he will miss. He's hit it a couple times, but more often than not, he will miss. And Kurt trying to go for a schoolboy quick win. Kick out. Ooh, and Brock again, cutting off Angle's momentum. Now, during this entire rest of the year, you're going to transition to Brock Lesnar as WWE Champion. I know, spoilers. And then you have Kurt Angle establishing his feud with Eddie Guerrero. Because Eddie Guerrero, at this time, same episode, in fact, he's now a double champion, being both the U.S. and, great belly-to-belly, and tag team champions. He won the tag titles on this episode with his nephew Chavo. And I remember seeing the tail end of that match. I was like, oh, I really like these guys. And during this point in this story with Eddie, as Kurt kicked out, that might have been a little bit of a delayed kick out, but I'll give it to him. And with Eddie, it's starting the tension between him and Chavo. And that's what I like about storytelling around this time, is that a lot of these stories, whether big or small, are being not only featured, but weaving into other storylines. So now it's more of a connected universe. And for a while, at least within 2010s, if you were a main event, like a main event storyline, you're going to stay in the main event as Kurt has the ankle lock right now. And then you have up and the roll through as Brock's trying to kill some time before Kurt gets back in the ring. And I always like these connected universes with different storylines, because the main eventers used to only interact with the main eventers. The people who are on the rise are going to only interact with the people in their circle. Same thing with the tag teams. And I like it when you have more variety and more interactions, because character interactions build not only your show or your storylines, but interest as well. More personality, more added development and interest. And we had a segment in the beginning of the show where Kurt was defending his championship against The Undertaker a couple weeks ago before this match was announced, and Brock cost him. And then Undertaker said he wouldn't interfere in this match because he has too much respect for the championship, which then goes into the Undertaker-Brock Lesnar biker chain match that happens as Brock gets very frustrated right here. And that later gets caused by Vince McMahon costing The Undertaker, which then goes into their issue. And then the next week where Brock's getting presented the championship, Kurt's trying to ask for a rematch, and John Cena appears. So everything is being weaved in and out, where everything logically makes sense and is logically tying together to make this one narrative that can help. And Brock's trying to put the steel steps in, and then baseball slide by Kurt, and the steel steps go flying into Brock. And again, that's not a DQ, because technically Kurt didn't use those steel steps. Brock was holding it. He was just in the right place at the right time. And Kurt trying to get him back in the ring. Quick cover, 2, and a kick out. Again, I like the urgency here, because even though we have probably around 20 minutes left, it's still very urgent to try to get falls here. And I like the role that Kurt's playing in that he needs to catch up. That is the big thing. Ever since probably the 10-minute mark of this match, he's been on the back foot. I keep saying this. But he's not trying to rush in a way that's making him lose his cool. He's doing it in a deconstructing way. He's hitting different moves, as we have 18 minutes and 32 seconds left in this match. He is trying to wear down Brock so he can logically hit him with a big move or put him in a hold. That will make sense. And we got a elbow. And again, these pinfalls that he's going for, he might, like, psychology-wise, he might not win with it, but he's exuding energy that Brock is trying to go. And right now, we have 14 minutes, 28 seconds. Brock hits a big superplex during the break. And I believe this is where he gets the fifth fall, if I'm not mistaken. So we get the 1, 2, 3, and we got the during the break thing. So this is Brock, 5 falls to 2, I believe. Yep, 5 falls to 2. We got about 14 minutes left in this match. And it's smart that they use this as kind of their hook or lead in, where you could see, like, all right, this is what happened. So now the match isn't tailored to, oh, the falls always have to take place during the commercial breaks. No, they could happen during the commercial breaks, making this seem like a more quote unquote real match or a real fight. And the psychology of this match is wonderful because you have Brock, who can do a lot of things with his power, but he just chooses to cheat instead. And now we have Brock trying to go for that F5 to the post, which in the beginning of the year he used that to take out Angle. I think in 02 he used that too. And then we have Kurt hitting Brock with the F5, doing the same thing. So again, calling back to earlier story beats of this feud, but now it's Angle doing a different doing the same thing to Brock that Brock did to him. So again, it's tying in this nice little narrative of how well not only these two know each other, but it gives a callback to a reference that happened earlier in their storyline. And even if you're a newer fan like I was, before Kurt tapped out to his own ankle lock, so now Kurt used Brock's own finishing move. So that adds a level to excitement, you know? And then we have the one-legged Boston Crab. Don't think we see Kurt use many leg submissions other than the ankle lock, and it's cool to see him kind of transition into something that hits more of the knee. And this is also good because in story, like Brock does a lot of power stuff. The legs are a big part of positioning his power. And again, we're coming up on only 10 minutes left of this match here, and then you see Kurt transition into the ankle lock. Technically, that should have been a unbroken hold right there, since Brock did hold on to the ropes, but the transition, I guess, neutralizes it. Again, it's a predetermined sport. But again, Kurt has the ankle lock locked in. Brock trying to push off with his feet, but again, damage is done. And Kurt just laser focused on the leg, just attacking the knee. And that's a good sign. Good sign for Kurt. As Brock just shoves him off. Again, showing that power game, even if he's injured. And Brock, even though he's like one leg, F5. But again, can't capitalize because of his knee. So that was using his finishing move as more of a defensive move, not an offensive one, which I think is very good story. Because Brock has, like, you have your finishers. You have your finishers that end the match, but just to kind of neutralize for a second as we get the 1, we get the 2, and then we got a kick out. Very close kick out. Very close. So again, Brock couldn't capitalize because of his knee. And because of the damage that Kurt put on. So he couldn't get a fall there, which would add to the frustration of Brock Lesnar. Even though he's ahead, he still wants to incapacitate Angle so he doesn't get that. Oh, jeez. So Brock's going to go up on the turnbuckle, which is a callback to their WrestleMania 19 match with the shooting star press. So you're getting in the mind that Brock Lesnar is going to attempt this shooting star press. Again, gingerly going to the top rope. Again, makes sense because his knee's been damaged. And then as he's making it to the top rope, Kurt just does the fake out and does the belly to belly off the top. And then Kurt capitalizing. 1, 2, 3. All right, Kurt got another fall. So now it's 5-3. And now we got a little under 10 minutes left. And again, now the clock is on. Now the excitement's on because Kurt has to have 2 falls to tie, 1 fall to... 2 falls to tie, and then 1 more fall in order to pass Brock. And right now, the clock's ticking. We have a double down right now. And, You got to try to get that hope in. You got to try to get that hope that Kurt Angle is trying to retain his title by any means necessary, while also still doing the babyface way. While Brock Lesnar has done the underhanded thing, I guess you could say. He's won by countout. He gave up a fall by disqualification. He used a low blow and a belt shot in order to defeat Kurt. He used everything but the kitchen sink, so it's making Kurt Angle look like a monster for even staying in competition with Brock. Nice back and forth. Doing the yeah boo spot with the punches. And Kurt trying to stay competitive with Brock. And now I think this is where they keep the clock on for the rest of the match. So we're seeing the countdown. So now it's getting the television audience, and maybe they show this at the arena as well. I don't know. I don't know anybody who was at that show. That now clock's ticking. Now we have to start picking up the pace if Kurt wants to make this a tie. And that's where the story kind of shifts, where it's like, can Kurt win, then transition to, can Kurt just catch up at this point? Then we got a big suplex. So again, everything's been up. Now straps are back up. And now the straps are down. I always like that when it's like the straps are up, put them back on, and then put the straps back down. Then Kurt's stalking Brock, and then we got the one for the angle slam. Oof. And DDT. When have you seen Brock do a DDT? And that is insanity. But Brock trying to cover. 1, 2. Oh, that might have been one of those 3.1 counts with Kurt. But very close kick out. And this is what I like about using offensive moves defensively when it comes to matches like this, and just matches in general, counters in general, where it can be used as a turning point, or it can be used as kind of like a pause for momentum. And we got Kurt still trying to fight back, and again, we're rounding third here when it comes to this match, and now we got the German by Brock. Before Suplex City was cool. If you're keeping track at home, I think Kurt hit a lot more suplexes than Brock. Still going. But again, hands aren't clasped. He's just doing these single German suplexes. As again, favoring the knee, which is good storytelling and good limb work. And then we got the last one right here. The German. One more time. So we're coming up to about 6 minutes left in this match, and again, it's looking more and more bleak for Kurt Angle's chances of retaining this championship. We got the double down, which I think is probably the second or third one in this match. Both these guys have looked amazing in this match so far, so it's really cool to see them just going all out. And it's not even for like a pay-per-view. It's for block, and got the German. So Kurt Angle got a German this time, a German suplex. And again, this is for a SmackDown show, and this is their blow-off. This is their blow-off to their rivalry. They do have like a Survivor Series team match, but this is their last one-on-one match. And we got the clock still ticking. We're entering the last 5 minutes of this match, which might be the most important. Then we got, again, Brock going for the block now, and now Brock with his own German up, but Kurt rolls through and gets the ankle lock. You see, that's the story with the German suplexes, where we assume that they're just going to trade off German, trading on that. The whole knee stuff with Brock was happening before, but then you have Kurt, like, unassuming and quick, countering that into an ankle lock. So it's the suspension of not only disbelief, but also just playing with expectations, which is a great thing during this entire match. And Brock's just struggling, trying to reach out. Up, he's got the ropes, but he can't grab hold. Technically, that should be a break, but again, but Brock finally taps, and then we got 4 Angle to Brock's 5, and we got 4 minutes left. So now again, goes into the pacing right now. Both of them are on the ground, and now clock's still ticking, which builds up that anticipation that you want Kurt to tie this matchup so they can go into overtime. And the crowd would want more overtime because that means this match isn't going to end anytime soon, with Angle still with a chance to win. And Brock again on his last leg, and this is the last fall that Angle's going to get. Spoiler alert, I know. But what is smart about this is that the whole Brock Lesnar chant is "you tapped out, you tapped out." And the last fall of this match, despite Brock winning this match, is that Brock tapped out. And then we got Kurt being rolled up in the ropes. Got a couple minutes to go. Going on to almost 3 minutes. And the story is Kurt, basically a shark smelling blood in the water, just working on Lesnar's knee, trying everything he can do. And we got a step over knee hold. And Kurt looking back at the clock. Which again, I'm surprised they didn't do that a little bit more during this match. But again, if you're focused on the other, and now we got an STF, a version of the STF with Kurt trying to choke Brock out. I'm not sure if this is probably the best thing story-wise, because Kurt hasn't realistically won with this move before. But it's to wear Brock Lesnar out before going for that ankle lock, hypothetically. And we got Brock trying to elbow his way out of here, which he does. And again, we only got a couple more minutes to go. Only a couple more minutes. So we got Brock rolling onto the outside. So again, Brock can't even stand because of his knee. And again, the time is ticking. And they're moving a lot. And you got Kurt on the outside doing the ankle lock, damaging. But again, this isn't smart because you can't win this fall on the outside. But you could sure damage them. And Brock's a big boy. We got a minute 35 left. Brock trying to roll out. And again, smart. Just trying to wait out the clock, which is, again, a big heel move. Again, with a guy who's as monstrous as Brock Lesnar, trying to do sneaky heel things, which is not in his character. But again, it's the cat and mouse game with the guy that you don't expect, with Brock being the mouse and Kurt Angle being the cat. And now we get the German right here. German suplex by Kurt. Another German suplex, and this is Suplex City before Suplex City is cool. And then we're on to the last minute. Last minute of the match. The third one. Oh, but still hands locked. Again, the clock is still ticking. You gotta get to that bread and butter, either pin or submit. And we got a fourth one. Hands still locked. Got just exhausting Lesnar, so he doesn't do anything. Lesnar trying to grab the ref. And then, low blow. Last 30 seconds with the ref not knowing anything. We got, again, everyone's hyped. We're in the last 25 seconds. Brock blowing Kurt. Trying to go for the kill, but Kurt gets the ankle lock. And we got about 15 seconds with the grapevine, which is a beautiful way to end it, with Brock trying to hold on. Angle trying to get that tie for 5-5. And then we got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Brock doesn't tap out. So the ending is Brock 5 to Angle 4, which means Brock is the WWE Champion. And by sneaky means, too, because I always like saying that Brock broke the rules without actually breaking the rules. Where his first fall was the chair shot, then it was the F5, then it was the ankle lock, then it was the low blow, then the belt shot, won a fall by count out. So Brock did everything to win this match. And that's the story that you want to still display with Brock being the heel, is that he did everything in his power to defeat Kurt Angle using every underhanded means. And even though he is, the next big thing in this era, he's not above actually cheating in order to get his way. And with Kurt, the fight from behind, too, is a wonderful story to tell. It's the tale of two different athletes. The one who's trying to play a straight up game, which is Kurt Angle, and the one who's doing anything to win, which is Brock. And this is the match that got me hooked on wrestling. And it was a cool thing to relive, cool thing to experience. I did remember some of the spots. I remembered some of the falls. I forgot about the count out fall that happened. I do remember vividly the chair shot into the F5 into the ankle lock fall, so all that consecutively. And I didn't remember the F5 into the post as much. I do remember the ending verbatim with Kurt, like, last couple of seconds trying to make Brock tap to the ankle lock, and then time runs out. And I do love the little things that Brock would do, which would make him more of a heel, whether it was killing time, whether it was just rolling on the ring so Kurt couldn't get an advantage on him. And ending it to 5-4 instead of Kurt trying to win or trying to gain that fall, I think it was a perfect way, a perfect, like, bittersweet ending where it's like you wrestle this perfect match, but again, because you decided to play a straight up game, but be like a straight up match, that's the thing that cost him. Brock, by any means necessary, wins that match. Overall, lovely match. Loved it so much. One of my favorites. Should probably go back and watch this a lot more. But that's going to do it for this week in Wrestling Retold and Relive with Richie Mars. I, of course, am Richie Mars. You can follow me on the Instagram and the TikTok at Retold Richie Mars. And new episodes every week with Wrestling Retold and Relive with Richie Mars, Spotify and Apple Podcast, TTFN, ta-ta for now, and I will see you next time.